Hi bestie, welcome back to my channel where you're certainly gonna get hooked on books. And welcome to a new reading blog. This reading blog is fun because it's Summerween themed, and if you know me, I'm a Halloween lover through and through. So when I found out that we're doing Summerween, I was like, count me in. So on the docket for this reading blog, I do have a few books. You know, it's kind of like an immediate TBR because they are part of my July TBR regardless, but will I finish them in this vlog? We shall see. First book that I'm basically almost done with, so crazy that I'm coming onto the vlog so fast to tell you about it, but the first one that we're starting off Summerween with is Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. It's based in 1915, and we're following this group of friends that they are, of course they're black, and they are being targeted by the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK. But they want to, kind of form a group to go against the KKK and take them out. So the hunted become the hunters. So far, the book has been really good. It's very interesting. It is very scary. It's gory. The actual, creepy monster element of the story is done really, really well. And I feel like that's a really good comparison to how racism can be depicted. It did take a little bit to get used to in terms of the writing style, because it is written in a very urban style. I feel like maybe the audiobook would have been a lot easier for me to understand, because there's one specific character who's one of the aunties that the way that she's speaking a specific dialect, and it's a lot more difficult for me to comprehend it when I'm reading it physically versus actually listening to it. So I definitely do recommend that. But it's still a really incredible book so far. It's very short. I feel like I've started it and in a blink of an eye, I'm already done with it. So it's very bingeable for sure. And the horror elements are chef's kiss. Like the KKK monster is so creepy and scary. And P. Jelly Clark, the way that he has done the description and the imagery of the scary elements, 2 thumbs up. So yeah, I think I'm 90%. Let me just double check. Okay, I lie. I'm 70%, but I'm only 2 chapters away from the end. So I think I'll definitely be finishing that one as of today. And funny enough, you see that I'm in a pool in my lanai in the backyard. It is because today is 4th of July. So happy 4th of July. And another funny thing is that Ring Shout is actually based during the 4th of July weekend in 1915. So it was the perfect match to the actual holiday. I love when a book matches to the season or the feeling that I'm in right now. So I love that I chose that one as my first pick, and it coincidentally ended up being 4th of July weekend. So moving along to my other TBR that I have set for Summerween. The first one that I have is The Return. Well, sorry, not the first one. The second one that I have is The Return by Rachel Harrison. This one, if I'm not wrong, it's about these 2 best friends that one of them goes missing for 2 whole years, but then all of a sudden she pops up again after those 2 years of disappearance, and she does not remember how she got lost. She doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know her best friend, nothing. It says here in the front, her friend disappeared, but a stranger came back. This is actually Rachel Harrison's debut novel, so I'm very interested in seeing how this is written compared to her other works. I've only read the one of the haunted house. Why am I forgetting? Play Nice? Yeah, I believe it's called Play Nice. That one was really good, and I loved the characterization that Rachel Harrison does with her characters, so I'm very excited about this one. The third book I have on this Summerween TBR is The Haunting by Natasha Preston. This one is about a relationship, this boy and girl, that they broke up because the girl's parents forced them to break up because the guy's father was convicted for murder for killing 4 teenagers in the last year or something, and now they're trying to stay separated. But then all of a sudden the girl goes to a Halloween store with her friends, and she sees that someone was from her school was murdered, which was very similar to how her ex-boyfriend's dad committed his murders. So she thinks that something is coming back. So let's see. I think it's gonna be probably a relationship revenge type of deal. And then the 4th book that I have on the TBR for this Summerween vlog is called Intercepts by TJ Payne. I got the audiobook of it because I had an Audible credit, and I didn't find it on my Kindle, because if you saw my July TBR video, you would know that this is a Kindle book, but I didn't find it on Kindle anymore. And I think it was because I had gotten it on Kindle Unlimited, but then they took it off. But anyways, since I did still add it to the TBR and I still do want to read it, so I decided to just go ahead and use my Audible credit to get it through Audible. This one, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I don't remember what it was about, but let me see. Joe works at a facility that performs human experimentation. His work just followed him home. Joe works for an organization known only as The Company. He cannot speak about what he does in public. He and his employees live in a constant state of paranoia that the company is listening to their phones and watching their search histories. Because on the bottom floor of the facility, rows of padded cells keep a group of humans in a constant state of extreme sensory deprivation, with their minds awake but their senses unable to ground themselves. They have gone inside, oscillating between vegetative states and fits of violent rage. These experiments have a purpose, though. When the minds of these inmates transcend their physical selves, they're able to intercept the sights and senses of anyone in the world. The process, however, is painful, torturous. I'm not going to read any more of the blurb of the summary of the synopsis because it's one of those really long synopses that probably gives a bunch of spoilers, and I like to go into books blind. You probably know this about me already. But that is my Summerween TBR for this video. Definitely, I'm gonna enjoy my 4th of July. We had some glizzies that I made. I'm gonna put a picture here for you guys to see. I have my little drinky drink, my little seltzer. I got blood orange flavor by White Claw. I have my music, my books, my Seppi girl. We are ready to enjoy this 4th of July, even though the weather is not very nice. But nonetheless, let's get to reading spooky books. Happy Sunday, bestie. I'm back with an update because I've done quite a bunch of reading and I got a lot of thoughts. So I did finish Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark yesterday. Honestly, I rated it a 4-star. It was a really solid horror book. There was a lot of good horror elements. I feel like if you're looking for a more in-depth character study into the actual KKK or the group of people that were trying to hunt down the KKK to take them down, if you're looking for more of a story with that aspect, definitely I would not go into this because I feel like the characterization was very limited. But the story itself, as well as, like I said, the horror elements and the scary parts were really, really good, honestly. I really enjoyed the story. I'm happy with the amount of pages it was because I feel like if it would have been longer, it would have felt a little too dragged out for what the story was. But it was the perfect start to our Summerween vlog, honestly. You probably noticed that there's no b-roll about yesterday. Well, it's because our pool day lasted 30 minutes only. Now let me explain why. Originally the pool already had a hole, but we patched it to try to help it out, and yeah, it didn't really work out. So after 30 minutes of just chilling there, I was on the phone with my bestie. The pool started deflating, so I kind of had to end that. But 4th of July was really fun nonetheless. I got a lot of reading done, had a very patriotic day, and to the extent that we can make it to. Now moving on to the next book that I read, which is The Return by Rachel Harrison, right here. So this one I am over halfway already for sure on this one, and I've primarily done most of my reading today. This one has been really good so far. I did tell you guys the basic premise of it yesterday, so I won't go into that again. But in terms of how far I've gotten into the story, I feel like this is actually very well done for it being a debut novel. It's very comparable to Play Nice, which is her most recent release that came out, I think it was last year in October that I read it also. It's very comparable to that in terms of the writing style, and the characters within the story remind me a lot of the characters in Play Nice. So I feel like that's just the writing style of Rachel Harrison, the type of characters that she likes to write about. And I honestly love them and I eat them up every single time because the main character in this book, I love her so much, and her friend group as well. I kind of love all the friends, and then the friend that went missing is best friends with the protagonist of this book, and then she did come back 2 years later, but she is kind of acting a little different. They all are noticing that within the group, but they're trying to touch it very lightly with her and not force her to speak on it, and because it's PTSD or trauma and things like that. So I understand that point, but at the same time I kind of would question her to kind of get some answers because she's trying to just brush it on, sweep it under the rug and not make it a big deal. But it kind of is a big deal for disappearing for 2 years and you don't even remember what the hell happened during those 2 years. So I'm very interested in seeing that. And now it kind of like in the halfway point, it gave us like a really big backstory to the protagonist. And I'm intrigued because honestly, the best friend that disappeared as well as the protagonist are very, very similar. So why am I getting the feeling that this might be like some type of ghost story or something? Like, I don't know. Let's see. I'm just speculating. I'm not sure, but I'm excited. It's been really good so far. Not much in the docket for the rest of this weekend. I really enjoyed this long weekend, honestly. It was much needed rest and relaxation and reading. Probably gonna do a bubble bath and then get ready for the week ahead for some more spooky reads. Okay, hi bestie. Back with an update because I finished The Return by Rachel Harrison officially. And I have some thoughts and... So, I don't know, I feel kind of like meh about it just because it kind of turned out to be something else in a sense. Like, it did go down the paranormal realm. It felt like, I know that I was saying, I think it was yesterday, that there was like kind of these ghosty vibes. I was getting the ghost realm in here, but it gave that, but also it went like in a different paranormal realm. I just don't want to say it because it is a spoiler, but honestly, like, I don't know if it fit well with the story or it just didn't like coincide well with like the overarching plot of what the story is and what themes are trying to be investigated and developed through the story. Unfortunately, like I could definitely tell, like comparing it to Play Nice I have read by her, that this is definitely her debut and it's like a lot more underdeveloped. It's like the best way that I could think of it as. Unfortunately, it was still a pretty solid read. You know, I was very invested with the characters. I definitely like had a very strong connection to all the characters, but I did find myself more interested in the side characters versus the main character. So that isn't always the best thing because the story is being told from her POV, but if I don't have like any type of attraction to her story or care about her, I kind of struggle throughout the story. Then I feel like a good chunk of this book is kind of just exploring female friendships and their dynamics and how people going through grief or certain things in their life can really affect their friendships in the long run as well, especially if they're like holding it all in and not really sharing their feelings with each other and not being able to trust each other. Like I could go down this rabbit hole for a long time because there was like so much of that theme throughout the entire story that it felt more like a literary thriller with horror right at the end, because that was another thing that happened all the way at the end, like the last two chapters, because oh my god, okay, wait, two side stories before I get to this point. The first side story is that every single chapter in this book is super long, like 40 to 50 pages, and I struggle with that sometimes, especially in a horror slash thriller, because it's categorized as a horror slash thriller. So I kind of, I want those bite-sized chapters that get me like anticipating for the next thing. It makes me want to keep turning the page. Like this wasn't the case here. It felt like there was so many different things happening within one chapter sometimes. It really did feel very clunky. Then going on to my next point, that the last two chapters, which was like the last 50 pages of the book, is when everything really ramped up. We found out like the whole paranormal twist of it all, what really happened to Julie, which is the girl that went missing. Book is primarily based in a hotel that the girls go stay at as like a girls trip, as a reunited girls trip after Julie comes back from disappearing for 2 years. And Rachel Harrison really set up the scene and the whole story to be kind of revolving around the hotel, So I kind of had the feeling like, oh, maybe there's going to be some paranormal entities within the hotel that's going to, scare, that's going to be like the scary part of the book and things like that. That's why I was thinking ghost yesterday. But unfortunately, it didn't go down that route. It went down a different route, which I don't mind. It was still cool. That paranormal element is nice. But if the hotel was so heavily focused on throughout the whole story, for it to have no effect on the actual story itself, I don't know, it didn't make sense to me for some reason. I don't know. I just didn't connect to it. And I know I saw another review on Goodreads that I was reviewing like earlier today when I finished the book, and I saw the same comment about like, the hotel was brought up, but there wasn't really much to it. And I was like, okay, I'm not the only one. And I love seeing that because I don't feel crazy then. I'm trying to look through my notes, but I don't think I have anything really else much to say about it. You know, the book was still good overall for what it is. For a debut, I think it's decent. Am I like telling you to go read it right now if you're a horror fan? No, unfortunately. But it was still a really good read. I rated it 3.5, and that's on that. Moving on to the next one, which is The Haunting by Natasha Preston. Already on book 3 of this vlog, kind of crazy. This one, I know that I gave you guys a quick synopsis on what it is about. I really have not read much on it, but just as a quick refresher, you know, we're following these high schoolers that this girl was dating this guy who the guy's dad was a convicted felon because he's a murderer that killed 5 students from their school, but she was forced to break up with him and cut all ties with him, etc. It's a year later after the whole anniversary of it. It's based during Halloween, which is cool. I like that. They are at this, like, it's called Party Town, but it's kind of like a spirit Halloween where you go buy costumes and decor and things like that for Halloween. And she's there with her friends, and then all of a sudden when they're searching through the costumes, they find a dead body, which is very similar to the MO of her ex's dad that killed those 5 students exactly 1 year before this date that they found the dead body. I hope I'm explaining this correctly. I'm like so frazzled. It was a long day at work. Returning after a 3-day weekend is always kind of crazy. But anyways, so far it's very easy to read. I think, if I'm not wrong, it might be a YA or something because it feels very like it flows easily. It's so easy to understand. There's kind of like multiple characters. I'm only like 3 chapters in, yeah. And there's multiple characters, but they're kind of easy to differentiate so far between. But again, these are just preliminary thoughts because if you could tell from the return, I had some decent preliminary thoughts and it ended up being just an average book. So we shall see how this one goes. Another update that I had for you guys is, which I should have done this from the very beginning, but whatever. Obviously, this is a Summerween vlog, so we are following the Summerween rules. And if you don't know, Summerween is hosted by the content creator, the bookish content creator, Gabby Reads, over on Instagram as well as on YouTube. And there's like these specific, like, not rules, I hate saying rules, but like specifications to like, or like prompts, there we go, to fulfill throughout the week of reading. Coincidentally, I did start it on the week of Summerween that Gabby's hosting, which is July 3rd through the 9th. The prompts that she issued were 5 of them. The first one is read a book in the dark or at night. I literally read every single night before bed in the dark, so not a problem there. Completed that one already. The next one is read a thriller or horror book. I have read 2 horror books already, even though I will say that the return is more thriller for sure, I feel, and then the horror was all the way at the end. But anyways, so prompt number 2 done also. Number 3 is read a new to you author, and currently I am reading a new to me author, which is Natasha Preston, and I read P. Jelly Clark for the first time ever, which was the first book that I read for this vlog, Ring Shout. So that was another new to me author as well, so love that. Prompt number 4 is read a book with pink on the cover. Guess what? The return is pink. And then the last prompt is read a book with less than 250 pages. And Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark was 194 pages. So I literally completed all of the prompts for Summerween within 1 weekend. You know, pat on the back for me for that, honestly. I love Summerween. This is my first year participating on it. I definitely will be participating again next year and many years to come because this is fun. And I love Halloween and during the summer, which is one of my favorite freaking seasons. The best, like, this is peak living for me right now, guys. So yeah, not much else going on here on my side. I'm gonna keep going with my reading. I'm doing great. We are in July 6th and I've already read 5 books. Like, this is gonna be a crazy reading month, and I can't even imagine like when it comes to my wrap up. But anyways, I'm thinking ahead. I will catch you real soon, bestie. Okay, bestie, we're back with an update. I swear, you guys must think that I have no other wardrobe besides white shirts and this jacket, because like in the last 2 vlogs, I've only been like wearing white shirts. I swear I'm not wearing the same one. I have like 10 white shirts because I'm a white shirt wearer. I'm always like the most comfortable in them. I do like tank tops, especially during the summer, but like white shirts are my go-to, as you could tell. So I swear this is not the same one. I changed my white shirts out for sure. And then the bottom part you guys barely see, but I'm always in shorts too. Anyways, I'm derailing because I just feel like everyone that's watching this must be like, he really has no other clothes, does he? Because another thing is that I filmed 3 videos back to back with the same shirt on. So now the video before this one and the one before that one and the one before that one all have the same like color shirt, and I can't. I need to let's move on to what we're actually here to talk about, which is The Haunting by Natasha Preston. So I'm almost halfway. I think I'm at like the 40% mark right now. And so far, so good. Definitely, this is more thriller than horror for sure. It's definitely giving like the classic 80s 90s horror slasher movie vibes. Like think like Scream or Halloween. It's giving those vibes massively because it's like teenagers in high school that their town just experienced their first murder. They're taking it upon themselves to investigate it and to figure things out, and they're finding secrets along the way that kind of alludes to one of the friends in the friend group potentially being the killer. The whole 9 yards of how a typical 80s 90s slasher movie is, which I'm enjoying because honestly one of my favorite horror movies is definitely Scream, so it definitely is giving me those vibes, so I'm enjoying it. I am also liking the characters a lot for some reason because I know that they're high schoolers, but they don't act so much as high schoolers. You know, they do have their like little nuances here and there that you could tell that they are younger, but still they have their heads screwed on, right? Because they don't cross lines that they're not supposed to be crossing, which is smart. Not many teenagers in most of these movies or books do that. I will say like the jump scares are pretty good, you know, like as good as they could get in a book, of course, but you know, they do kind of come out of nowhere. Natasha Preston does this thing leading up to the jump scare, and then like it does not happen, and then when you get to the next part then it happens, you know, which I kind of like because, you know, she's like leading you there, and then all of a sudden she's kind of like left you, like she edged you all the way, and then you're just left there like what now, and then all of a sudden it hits. So I've been enjoying it so far. I did sneak a quick little peek at the reviews last night, and I did see one little review that I was like, oh my god, I hope that's not like gonna be the case at all, because I do this to my damn self. Like I always love to go into the reviews before I even finish a book to kind of see if someone else is feeling like the same things or thinking the same things as I am while I'm reading the book. But that's how I land into spoiler territory. So I will probably never learn my lesson. I will probably keep doing that, and I probably don't care. But honestly, I am enjoying the book a lot. You know, it's not like gobsmacked amazing. Like it's definitely above a 3-star already for sure. It's tiptoeing to a 4, but the ending is what's really going to determine for me if it's going to be a 4-star thriller or not. It's very hard for me to actually rate a thriller 5 stars. I haven't rated a thriller 5 stars, I believe, since Julie Chen is Dead by is it Lian Zhang? Hold on. Yes, I feel like right down there. Yeah, it's by Lian Zhang. Yeah, that was a real true 5-star thriller because it wasn't only thriller. It had like this crazy horror plot twist in like the 3rd act of the book. I love that book. Anyways, again, I love to derail in these updates sometimes. I don't get it. But yeah, great progress on the book so far. I don't know if I'll finish it today. I might most likely finish it tomorrow, and then we are on July 7th and Summerween does end July 9th, so we still do have 2 more days of vlogging. So hopefully I definitely will for sure finish The Haunting, but I don't know if I'm gonna finish Intercepts. But regardless, I am gonna start Intercepts soonish. I don't know if I want to start it today. I'll probably start it tomorrow. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan, so we'll see. But I'll catch you in the next clip, bestie. Okay, so let's chat because I have officially finished The Haunting by Natasha Preston, and I don't know. This is another one that I'm feeling kind of meh about, only because the second half of the book, I just felt like everything kept getting dragged out. The whole book is set like in a week time span. Like it starts on the 24th and it ends like on the 31st of October because, you know, it's a copycat killer that's copying the protagonist's ex-boyfriend's dad's kills that he did the year before during Halloween. But I feel like every single day that we were in was elongated like so heavily. Like we went through every single little detail that a person could possibly go through in a day. And I don't mind that, but definitely like I feel like at least maybe like 50 pages of this book could have been chopped off. But yeah, like I said, it felt like it was dragging on and on and on and on. Like at a point I had like 5 chapters left and I was like, can we just get to the point? Like we were in the action, in the meaty part of it, and then I'm starting to see that there's only like 2 chapters left. There's like 20 pages left and we're still in like a very high energy intense situation, and we're still in it in the last chapter. And I see that I'm getting to the last page, and the way that this book ended was literally the biggest, like it edged you all the way into the last page, and then a thing happened and that's it. You don't know anything else after that happens. And it's kind of frustrating because when if you've read the book and you know how the plot progressed to the point that it made it to the end, and we know like who the actual killer was who the actual killer is, you kind of want to know what happened afterwards with everyone. Like, it also is a little vague, but like it's still like it does not actually give you a firm answer if the killer was killed or not. And I didn't want that in a thriller. I kind of want, that happily ever after, or even if it's not going to be a happily ever after, like, just tell me, like, there's no happily ever after. Don't leave me in limbo thinking what could have actually happened. Like, what is going to happen afterwards? Like, I don't like that. I did not like that for sure. I have no problem with the writing style. The fact that it was YA, but it doesn't feel YA was really nice and refreshing to me. I know that it follows like those typical 80s, 90s horror slasher films. Definitely, honestly, especially once we found out who the killer actually was. But I kind of enjoyed that. Like, I was kind of in the mood to read something like that, especially for Summerween. And I like that it wasn't like horror. Like, it wasn't like in your face paranormal or like gory and like, those body horror and things like that. It was a different type of horror, like a slash. Yeah, I just feel like I'm going around in circles and rambling at this point because I really don't know what else to say. Like, it was an average thriller, nothing to rage about. And I did rate this one also a 3.5. And that's that on that. So today I'm freshly showered and I'm exhausted. Also, today is Wednesday, not Thursday. After work, I decided to go pull the weeds from the yard because they just sprayed like the weed killer thing yesterday and they were all like ready to be pulled out. But I couldn't do it all because it was a lot. So I'm exhausted after that, but I am refreshed and ready to go. And while I was pulling the weeds, I started Intercepts by TJ Payne. It says I'm about 23% of the way through chapter 8. So far, so good. It definitely has set up the spooky scene because like as soon as you start, you get introduced to like this laboratory that the main character works in, that he's like kind of like the head scientist or the owner of, in a sense, that they are experimenting on humans with some type of thing. We're not fully certain just yet. But then something happens with one of the human subjects. Like, they kind of have like because these people are like under some type of sedation or something. Like, they're definitely being like, they're all like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, they're not humans that are sane or in consciousness, but this one person all of a sudden became conscious and they started like figuring out what's happening that they're being tested on. And there's not a spoiler because it literally happens in chapter 1, but this person kills one of the employees of the facility. So all of that thing goes down, and then the owner / head scientist of the facility gets a call from his daughter's school saying like, hey, I don't know if you're gonna come pick her up. I know that you're 2 hours away, but she's been waiting here and no one has come to pick her up. And he's like, what are you talking about? And the guy's like, oh, you don't know? Well, your ex-wife, yeah, she committed suicide. Can you imagine like some crazy ass shit just happened at work and then immediately right after you get a call saying some shit like that? I would be like, what kind of fucked up day is this? So of course he tells the principal to like let his daughter go home with her best friend because he knows like the family or whatever, and he goes to pick her up from there. But then when they get back to the house, she sees like a person in the road. Then she sees that same person in their house. So she's kind of seeing like a ghost / paranormal entity. I could believe, she's a teenager and she is grieving because her mom literally just committed suicide. So she could just be having like, some type of side effect to her grieving, but I feel like she's not. I feel like this is something for real that she's seeing, but the others are not seeing apparently, but they're maybe like throwing it under the rugs because it's one of their human subjects. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but so far so good. It's been very easy to understand, very easy to follow through. I'm not reading it with my eyes. I'm only listening to it because I got it through Audible. It does have me intrigued and I'm very interested. I don't know if I'm going to finish for this vlog and I'm sad about that, but I have already read 3 books for Summerween in a week, so I think that's pretty good. But like I said, today's Wednesday, tomorrow is Thursday, July 9th, the last day of Summerween. So I'll definitely come back tomorrow with final updates like on how far I got into Intercepts, plus like all of my final reviews and feelings about all the other books that I read. So I'll see you soon, bestie. Hey bestie, happy Friday actually, because I did not record Thursday, which was supposed to be the last day of Summerween. So today is going to be my last day of Summerween. And to be in the spirit, I'm wearing my spooky sweatshirt of Scream. I love it. I got this off of TikTok shop like maybe 2 or 3 years ago now at this point. But yeah, super cute. I love it. But I'm here with an update because I did not finish Intercepts by TJ Payne, but I am halfway through it and I do have some thoughts. Now that I'm halfway through the story and I've gotten a lot more insight on like the whole plot that we're following, I really am getting like major Stranger Things vibes because there's these human subjects that are being tested on that they're called intercepts. They are being like submerged into these immersion tanks, which is very Stranger Things coded because if you watch that show, you would know that 11 is also like kind of like a human test subject, and she's placed into an immersion tank as well whenever she wants to travel to a different location, like kind of like in a different physical realm of some sorts. Like the people that are living in the real world don't see her, but she's there seeing the situation happen in front of her. I don't know what that thing is called, but basically that same thing is occurring in this book in a different way, correlating to the daughter. And I don't know if I said this, I'm pretty sure I did, but the daughter, you know, like they just found out that the mom died. She had committed suicide. This is not spoiler territory, by the way. This is literally in the first chapter. So it's kind of like exploring the idea of the little girl having, I say little girl when she's not a little girl. She's literally a teenager and a senior at that point. But anyways, we're exploring the idea that she is seeing like some type of physical manifestation, like in a paranormal sense, because it's kind of like spooking her because she's seeing like some type of distorted figure of a sense. The thing that she is seeing is a normal person, but then it starts to taunt her and it starts to become like a more scary illusion. Like it started describing like how her eyes started to come out and things like that. Going back to the exploration, we're exploring that. Is she actually seeing these things? Or is this just a physical manifestation of her psychological trauma and grief from just losing her mom and finding out that she committed suicide? So I really like that comparison because the story really is going down psychological horror and paranormal horror, which I do like that mixed together. I just don't like the fact that it's so closely similar to Stranger Things. I like it like because I like this show, but it feels just a little bit unoriginal. And I don't like to say that because obviously I know that this story probably is going to take a different turn and it's not going to go down the same route as Stranger Things. I really hope so. So yeah, I'm halfway through. I really am enjoying the story so far. It's not as creepy or scary as I thought it would be, but I do feel like it's gonna get scarier as we go along. I do believe that I'll probably finish it maybe this weekend, but we'll see. But definitely, unfortunately, I won't be able to finish it for this vlog because today is the last day of Summerween officially. So with all of that said, now I kind of just want to do a quick recap of everything that I read for Summerween and kind of tell you my final ratings and feelings and which one was like my favorite read. I feel like it's kind of obvious, but let's go through it. So the first book I read for Summerween is Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. This book definitely is very horror-centric, commentary heavy, and it explores racism in a horror aspect type of way that I really liked, and it's so important. I feel like in the political climate that we're living in the United States right now, this is a very important book to read. I highly recommend reading Ring Shout. You know, definitely check trigger warnings. There is a lot of gore, a lot of like scary things that do happen on page, but I really do like the representation within the book as well as the revenge story that was represented throughout the entire book. And the resistance fighters of the story really fighting for what they believe in and to end the oppression against them, and the fact that they're being oppressed by these KKK members that are actually like these type of weird monster creatures. Like excellent work, PJ Lee Clark. Very good book. My only qualm with it was that it was a little short. I feel like the characterization of the characters was not expanded on enough. I really wanted to be with the characters more and understand them more and really have a good grasp on what they believe in and what they stand for and what they want to fight against fully, because we did get an overall like high level overview of what they're fighting for, but the stronger message behind it felt a little lacking because we didn't explore the characters further. I'm forgetting that I don't know if I mentioned the rating, but I know that I mentioned in the early clip, but again, in case someone skipped to this part, my rating for Ring Shout was a 4-star. The second book that I read for Summerween is The Return by Rachel Harrison. This one was pretty good overall. I did enjoy the story. It felt very like thrillery, and then it became horror at the end, like the last maybe like 60 pages, I would say. This one really was a good story overall. I just feel like most of the story, like at least the whole like first 50% mark, was very like kind of repetitive in a sense. You know, we kept going around in circles, having conversations amongst the friends to try to figure out what was happening to the friend that got back that disappeared. And I felt like that was a little more on the unnecessary side because I didn't want all of that. I wanted to explore more of that horror side that happened at the end. It definitely took a turn that I was not expecting. You know, I kind of went down a different type of paranormal realm, which was good. I just feel like it really wasn't fleshed out all the way that it should have been. I know that this is a debut novel of Rachel Harrison, so you know I can't fault her for that anyways, but regardless, it still is very creepy, spooky, and what the friend that disappeared was trying to get her best friend to do at the end, I wish that would have been the route that the book took instead, like way earlier, to see how that would have turned out. Like, let's say the friend would have followed into her footsteps and actually followed through with what she was saying. That would have been a really interesting plot that I would have definitely probably rated higher. I might be mean, guys. I might be too critical. I hope not. But it's just, you know, when I read these stories, I've seen and read so much horror that there's other avenues that I would like to explore in certain books or films that I watch that I wish that they would do. But those are just like, you know, my ideas or my own opinions. So truly, I'm not trying to like shit on the author or on the book or anything, you know. This was still a really solid book. I think it's great introductory into horror too, because it's not like really in your face. But again, I've read and seen so much that sometimes I just want a little more. And it's hard for me to get scared. So this one was not very scary. This one was pretty like surface level. That's why I say it's pretty good for anyone that's trying to get introduced into horror. But nonetheless, this one I rated it 3.5. The next one that I read for Summerween is The Haunting by Natasha Preston. This one, oh man, it was good. I was really enjoying it. I like that it's a YA, but it doesn't read YA. And I really liked like all of the characters and like the little moments of reprieve that we will get from the scary stuff, to have like the friends just hanging out together and bantering with each other and having fun. Like those moments were so nice to have, especially in such a high intense situation that they were in. I know I said this before, but this book is definitely like classic slasher film vibes. Like it really does follow down that whole line of tropes that these horror films back in the 80s and 90s followed. But my biggest issue with this book is the way that it ended. That ending was ridiculous. I cannot believe that happened, because it's something that occurs that leaves you wondering, like, did they, I don't want to say it because it's a spoiler. That's the problem. Like, did it happen? Did it not happen? What happened afterwards? Are they okay? Is everyone safe? Like, what is happening? Like, I don't like to be left lingering like that, you know? So if you're a person like me that doesn't like to be left with so many questions at the end of a book, I would not recommend this one, honestly. But it is a very good thriller. It's not a horror. It's more of a thriller, I will say. There is slasher elements, but the slashing is not like so intense or descriptive, you know? It kind of just like, oh yeah, this person got their throat slit. And then, you know, we just keep on going. Like, it's not described in depth of like how all the blood was gushing out and falling on the floor. It doesn't get to that point. Because again, remember, it's a YA. But it was still awesome. It was still very enjoyable. Just that ending, like, really, like, it had me edging to just not have a finals resolution and leave me questioning everything. And I'm not a big fan of that. But anyways, this one I rated it a 3.5. And then of course, I am still reading Intercept by TJ Payne. I have not finished it just yet. I am halfway. I am feeling that I am in between like a 3 and a 4 right now with that one. It really is going to depend on how the story advances from here on out and how everything is resolved at the end. Most likely I will have this video edited and ready to go by the time I finish Intercept, so I'll go ahead and place right here my final rating. And that's the end of Summerween. Oh my gosh, this week went by so fast. I read so many good books, and I love anything spooky, guys, honestly. Like, if it's body horror, paranormal, supernatural, whatever it is of horror, I'm in. And this is my first year officially participating in Summerween, and I'm definitely looking forward to do it every single year moving forward. I'm definitely got to do it like a little more themed, a little more intense, with a lot more involvement. This year I kind of just decided to read books and do a regular schmegler reading vlog, but I definitely have more ideas for next year to kind of enhance the experience, not only for me, but also for you guys. Let me know in the comments if you participated in Summerween this year. What did you read for Summerween? Because I'm interested. Have you read any of the books that I read for Summerween also, and let me know your thoughts. And as a simple little gentle reminder that this is a safe space for everyone and anyone, please feel free to express your thoughts and opinions on these books or any book that you've read in the past without any repercussions, because no one is allowed to be mean here. But if you like me and this video, make sure to give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and make sure to hit the notification bell so you're notified every single time that I post a new video. And if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment the ghost emoji so I know who the real ones are that stayed all the way to the very end. And with that, bestie, let's get hooked.